Welcome to the Fourth Step Podcast. On each episode, we interview recovering addicts and learn their story with addiction. Through exploring personal journeys, we get a glimpse of the depths addicts fall to and their path in recovery. We hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Fourth Step Podcast. My name is Kevin. I'm an addict, and this is the anonymous episode.
I'm Josh. I'm an addict.
Josh is here.
I'm not anonymous.
No, but we have some guests that we're going to keep anonymous just for their identity.
Thanks, guys, for coming and being part of this.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to bring us in?
Yeah, I was thinking if we could say the third step prayer. Take
Take my will in my life, guide me in my recovery, and show me how to live. Keep coming back.
It works.
Yeah,
If
it works.
you-
Work it.
Aw.
I thought you didn't say that.
I don't.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just for you guys.
All
So
right.
we're in Truckee right now, and it's snowing outside, and we came up here as a collective to do step work. And what did we get through step? We got through
Three.
step 3 today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we're just gonna bullshit about recovery. Does anybody have anything that they want to talk about?
Well, I don't want to talk about feelings, that's for sure.
We could do the 4th step.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, you guys showed like interest in just not being named, right? You wanted to be anonymous.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah, if we accidentally say your names, we can block out we can
Yeah.
block that out in the edit too.
So when did you get clean?
I got clean in 2006. June of 2006.
Oh, nice. Okay. And you, anonymous too? A2?
Anonymous 2 year addict. I got clean November 17th of 2015.
Okay. You missed a couple days there.
Yeah, I got mixed up with the year. So the year is 15, but the day is 17.
All right.
So I got it figured out now, though.
All right,
It's
good.
crazy how fast time goes by.
I know.
Do you guys remember like your last day loaded?
Yes, I do.
Scraper bag out of the backpack in Mexico.
Yeah, I was in Mexico. And
Or just like a floating shard in the backpack or something like that, right?
yeah, I got clean. This last time I got clean and had a plan how I was going to get clean. So I had some family that went to Mexico, and I went with them. I went and stayed there and got clean. But I wanted my clean date to be a significant date when I was down there. So my brother that had just passed, his birthday was on the 12th of a month. And so I was like, okay, well, I had this like plan of how I was going to detox myself, and my clean date was going to be on the 12th of November. And I stuck with that date for a long time to come. But what would happen in between the 12th and the 17th is that like I had started to detox, and then I had found some stuff in my bag that I didn't know that I had on the 16th, and I got loaded again. And I never told anybody about it for a long time.
Yeah.
Came back and kept the 12th. I was really attached to it being the 12th. And
How long did you hold that?
about a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Where did the coming clean of that? Was it in step work, sponsorship? Where did it show up where you're like, I need to change this?
yeah, I just didn't feel right. I would hear other people share about. I had fear of getting loaded again. I was scared that I wasn't going to be able to stay clean.
Oh, because you were holding that secret?
Well, I didn't want there to be any reason that I was going to get loaded.
Gotcha.
And so I would hear people share about it, about lying about their clean time or that kind of stuff. And so it started to bother me more and more. And then I really look back, and, the idea of being attached to a certain date is just kind of silly. I mean, your clean date's your clean date. It doesn't have to be
Exactly.
some kind of significant date. So
What about you, A1?
So mine is similar to what just said. So I started the process.
Oh, there you go. His name is A2. Yeah. Oh well. Cat's out of the bag.
So are you gonna bleep these out?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can take the names out
Okay.
for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Anybody that listens to this podcast is probably going to know who we are anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a strong chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's okay.
But yeah, you were saying that
Your last day clean.
your last day clean,
Yeah.
Or last day
not,
using.
Not last day clean.
or using. Excuse me.
Yeah. So, like, had mentioned, I also changed my clean date, right? And so, a very significant day for me, I had been using for a very long time, and I was on probation, and this is in late 2004, and I was on felony probation. I had some time hanging over my head, and I was using, and I was getting to a place where I felt like I was losing my opportunity to for another way of life. I just had this moment of clarity where like my friends were going to prison, and I had lost my sanity for real. Like I knew that I was in a drug-induced psychosis, and I had been for a very long time. And I had tried things like stopping for a little while, but it would still be there, and I would use, and because I didn't know how to stay clean, and it would get worse. And it was my day to test. This is back in the time when you called and checked in and see if it's your day to test, and it was. And I went to my drug and alcohol counselor to ask for help, and he helped me. He said, "Okay, I'm going to take you to probation and drive you over there, and we'll get you some help." So we went to probation, and then probation said like, "Okay, if you can stay clean for 3 weeks, we'll wipe this off your record." And I think you're allowed to get like 3 dirties before they send you to prison at this time. And my drug and alcohol counselor, he said, "If you can't stay clean, I want you to go back to treatment." And I had gone to treatment once before, and it was a co-ed treatment. And my drug and alcohol counselor said, "I want you to go to an all-men's treatment center if this happens, where you can focus a little bit better and get some help." And I said, "Okay." I left there that day, and I proceeded to get loaded. And it was so ugly. It was just like...
Is that the last day?
It wasn't...
What's the last day?
It led up into like a couple-day run, right? And then I think that was, yeah. So I used throughout that day, and I think the next day, and I woke up clean, and I went to probation and asked for some help. I said, "I can't stay clean." And so, but I changed my clean date after that because I had abuse and pain pills twice. I took a sip of beer once, and then I abused some cough syrup was the very last thing I ever used.
Yeah.
But that was all significant because like the day like I decided to try this way of life, it was the last time using was that time I shared. And leading up to that, like I was learning the process of what it is to stay clean in Narcotics Anonymous.
Like truly clean. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the last thing I ever used was cough syrup, and I drank half the bottle. And
Did it fuck you up?
Yeah, I was a little belligerent, and I started talking shit, and then I passed out. Yeah, my mom, I was on vacation in Yosemite, and my mom was there, and she was loaded on meth, right? And she was there, and she was like just fucking with me, and I was like, I didn't like it, and I was like, I didn't know how to deal with it. I had no coping skills.
No tools.
And
Yeah.
I chose to buy a bottle of cough syrup and drink half of it. And then later I got to take a look at it with a sponsor.
How long after that did you change your clean
It had
date?
been like maybe, so
About a year, wasn't
about
it?
a year. Sounds right.
Yeah.
About a year.
So okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I know people in our lives that have changed their clean date because they realized that something new was actually getting loaded, like kratom.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, I've heard this.
Yeah. And I was always told, like, what are your motives? Like if you have pain
Motive
pills
for-
and your
maybe
doctor...
Motive for using it, you mean?
Yeah, like if your doctor gives you a prescription for the pain and you use pills for the pain, but you keep taking the pain pills because your doctor prescribed it, but you don't have pain anymore, your motive is not to get rid of the pain, the physical pain. right?
Yeah, it's so hard once you start doing that to differentiate between the two because the disease is active.
Yeah,
Whether-
no kidding.
Whether you're taking them for the right reason or, well, my experience is whether I'm taking them for the right reason or not. Once I'm loaded, I'm loaded. You know, whether I'm prescribed and taking them properly or not. And
Speaking of that, when
motherfucker's
was
sneaky.
your last day?
The 16th of last month. Actually, I just relapsed. We can talk about that. It sounds like a good idea.
Take it.
What do you want to know?
What led up to it?
I'm glad you said earlier when we were talking about like the too much and like just not handling it well is essentially the root cause. Well, it's definitely a piece of it for sure. Like
Just so people know, Josh just pointed at A2.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab some coffee. I'll keep talking. You guys want some?
Yes, please.
Okay.
A1.
Kramer, you guys?
A1.
So
Creamer, please.
I've been taking a medication that is like it's a scheduled medication, but it's not a speed medication, and it's an attempt to treat like an ADD or like calm down and be able to focus a little bit better, and been taking it for a couple of years successfully with no issues, and I've been running myself pretty ragged and just overwhelmed and overstimulated with life, and probably not sleeping really well. I also have a sleep apnea issue that I'm trying to get figured out right now too.
You got a lot of shit going on in your life.
Yeah, probably a piece of it. There's a lot of things. I'm still trying to figure it all out and, make sure I don't veer down that direction again. But essentially what happened is I was experiencing like some disassociation and some side effects that sometimes are considered or potentially considered to be or potentially caused by, I filled these up way too high, you guys, sorry, by that medication that I've been taking for a couple years. And so I talked to my primary care and expressed what was going on. And they referred me to a psychiatrist, and by the end of the psychiatrist appointment, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I shouldn't have been open or willing to try or whatever, but I did. There's part of me that knew better, but there was also part of me that was hopeful. Like, I experienced some head trauma a couple years ago, pretty severe head trauma, and I was explaining what was going on, and the doctor asked me if I had experienced any head trauma in the last couple years, and I said yeah, and he started naming off symptoms that I may be experiencing because of that, and it like all lined up, and he recommended Adderall as based off some recent studies. He recommended Adderall, and because of the conversation, I was almost kind of like almost emotional because it felt like maybe it was going to help, but then there was part of me that was scared because I've been down that road before, and I've abused Adderall and Vyvanse and Ritalin and all the ADD medication all of them, and
But maybe it'd be different this time.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And maybe it's going to help, maybe it'll be the answer, and I've been taking this other medication successfully with no issues and blah blah blah. I fucking convinced myself it was going to be okay. Excuse me. I took it properly for 2 days, and I actually called you, and I was like,
A2.
I'm struggling. I don't know if I should keep doing this or not. on day 3, I called. We talked every day, but on day 3, I called you. I was like, I don't know, dude. This is getting a little sketchy. I probably need to stop. And then it wasn't 2 hours later that I took an extra one, and then by the end of the night, I had taken 10 more, and it was, you know.
Like, what was going through your head then? Like, this isn't working, I need to take more. This isn't working, I need to take more.
Just disease, man.
Yeah.
I really wasn't justifying it anymore. It was just my addict was. It got activated, and it fucking and it was sneaky, and it was
Sneaky.
It was sneaky, and it was quiet at first, and
Lucky you didn't last long.
yeah,
Got right back on track.
yeah. I mean, well, it's a blessing that it was a trial prescription. So, like, the reality is, I ran out of pills too. You know what I mean? That's a piece of it. Like, thank God I didn't have a full bottle or like a higher dosage or whatever, because I would have eaten them right into a psychosis. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
either that or like somebody was watching out for you.
For sure.
Some higher power.
Yeah, I mean, this is not my first relapse, and it sucks. But I don't recommend experimenting or trying to figure out medication. That's a journey for everybody and their doctor, but and their sponsor and their support group.
Yeah, no, when I was new, the old timers used to tell us that everybody comes in here with three professions. We're all lawyers, we're all chemists, and we're all doctors.
Yeah, no, I mean a real doctor.
Pharmacist.
Yeah.
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 But you became your own, like, doctor.
Oh, like taking extra, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
It was crazy, man. I was able, in a way that I've never experienced before, able to like play the tape back. Like when it was like 2:30 in the morning, I'm sitting on the couch, and I've literally just been watching porn and being a weirdo on the couch while Sadie's asleep, and I'm just being fucking weird by myself in the living room. And I'm sitting there, and it dawns on me that, like, what the fuck just happened? Like, it happened so fast, and
Yeah.
it was almost without my permission. I participated, but it was so sneaky and so subtle that, like, I didn't.
Well, your addict doesn't need your permission.
Dude, it was. But I watched Josh get quieter. Like, when I looked back at it, Josh got quieter and quieter every pill. Every single one. It was like, by the end, it was like, I was just like this fucking little kid on a rock out in the middle of the lake, like, hey, that's not a good idea. And, like, there was just this more overpowering, like, eat another one, do that. You know what I mean? It was
That
just,
doesn't sound good.
no, it was fucked up. And it was, what I noticed, what I was trying to get at is what I noticed more than I've ever been able to in the past was the separation and strength of the disease from who I am. Like, it was like a separate thing. It wasn't like it was like it wasn't me.
Well, it wasn't. It was your addict talking.
Yeah, it was just a trip. I saw a clear separation. I had never experienced that before. Because I always was using because I wanted to use. Like, that was my story.
Well, that
Like,
was the lie you were telling yourself.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I chose it. Like, I'm an addict, and I'm not even an addict. I'm partying because I want to party.
No. I could see in your head. I could visually see your addict whispering in your ear, "Josh, this is your good idea.
Yeah,
You've got great ideas, Josh.
Yeah, for
Put this
sure.
in your arm."
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
My last
or
time
wherever.
using was
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, it doesn't have to be over. Yeah. Yeah, the truth is, I'm such a fucking drug addict. I go straight back to the, like, gutter, dude. I was chewing them up and putting them chewing them up because they were time released. They were like I can't think of the word right now. They were
Extended release?
yeah, the extended release, but it was the little balls inside the capsule. What are the balls called? There's a word I'm missing. Anyway, it was extended release Adderall, and so to fucking work better, I was chewing them up and then spitting them into toilet paper and shoving them up my ass.
Excellent.
that night.
That night, dude, it took three pills in, dude. Fourth pill, it was going up my ass.
Okay.
Yeah, and for anybody that doesn't know, there's more blood vessels in your ass, so like if you're a
I don't think we need to tell them.
if there's an addict that uses or that used rigs or needles and you couldn't find a vein, very often the needle would get broken off and you would turkey baste, which is essentially shoving the
They can figure it out.
yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
Do we need to
Okay.
dive into that subject any further, or we could move
No, I
on?
think we can move on from that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just being honest, you know.
Yeah. I think it was a great story. Once you told me, because
I'm a drug addict.
I was listening to you when you first told me, and I was like, did he relapse? I mean, it's under a doctor's care. I was thinking in my head.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I put it in my butt. I'm like, oh, okay. There's a line he crossed there for sure, you know? Okay, he's serious. He really
Yeah.
did. There was a line crossed there.
Yeah, I mean, I woke Sadie up. It was like 3:00 in the morning. I woke her up, and she was like, just thought I was waking her up to like, cuddle with her or whatever. And I was like, I ate all my pills. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I ate all my pills. Like, I fucking needed to say something like then, you know? Like, I processed it on the couch. I sat there for about a half hour, like, playing the tape out, like, of, like, different possibilities of what could happen and what I should do and what's the right thing and all of the things I'm going to have to do if I'm going to do this right. Like, hey, like, okay, so I'm going to have to come clean. I'm going to have to call my support group, my sponsor. I'm going to have to drop all these commitments. I'm going to have to, like, I played the tape out and was like, and now I can't wait. Like, I wasn't able to, like, I didn't want to give myself the chance to think anything other than what I needed to do, you know?
Yeah, talk yourself
Good
out
thing
of.
Sadie was there. You may have changed your mind if you didn't have someone to talk to right at the beginning.
Yeah, it's very possible, yeah.
You might have changed your mind by sunrise.
Yeah, and I mean, it activate for some reason, like that process activated tobacco for me. Like, I've wanted to smoke cigarettes since then. I haven't thought about using anymore since then. I haven't really struggled with the using aspect so much as like the effect that it took on me mentally, and then there's been like some shame and some guilt. Like I had some kind of attachment to this responsibility to the fellowship and to like my support group and the people around me, and I fortunately and unfortunately, so like some of the stuff I do like does impact people outside of just my immediate circle, and like I felt like I was letting down all the people that care about me, and like it was kind of hard to deal with that for that. Like that was the heavy hit that I took. Like NA is the only family I've ever really felt really like I have a family and I have a relationship with them, but not like I have with you guys or with addicts. You know, it's different, and I just felt like I let everybody down, including myself, and so like I had a lot of guilt and shame, and I've been giving myself a break and trying to plug back in and pay attention, like we were talking about earlier, like paying attention to how I feel, and making sure to like practice self-care and not try to move too fast, because in the past, like what I've done is like in order to correct something that I've done wrong, I'll fucking go way into the opposite end. Like I'll just burn myself out the other opposite direction. Like I'll start take on service, like what I did when I came back from fucking Chico. Mm-hmm. Starting this, starting that, doing this, fucking throwing events, throwing camping trips, fucking just so much shit. And I didn't want to do that this time. I wanted to
Helps distract you from you.
Exactly, yeah. And this time, like, I've been really like, it was a wake up call, because some of that stuff that I was just talking about, like the responsibility to people other than myself in my recovery, is unfair to me. And I did that to myself. And like, that's something I've been looking at. And then also like, I don't want to overdo it, and I don't want to distract myself. So I've just been feeling my feelings and trying to maintain the responsibilities that I have and that I had prior to, as well as continue to progress in my professional life and keep showing up for myself and people. And yeah, it's been an interesting process. So I got like, I don't know, like 49 days or something like that right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, what else?
I don't know. You guys know me better than anybody. You might questions or comments about that process. I mean, it's a pretty I'm an open
No,
book.
actually, I was going to tell you guys about my last day loaded.
That sounds great.
It wasn't anything special.
We got some. All four of us got some pretty lame last days.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Found something in our bag and then put an Adderall up his ass, and
No, I don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't have that. No, it's just like I was out getting loaded. I was living with my oldest son's mom, and I'd already been through rehab and been clean for a year and a half, and so I knew about NA. And I had caught a case, and I was looking at 6 years if I gave another dirty test. So I was giving dirty tests, and each time they said you're going to get rolled up and go do your term. And this one night I was getting loaded with my friend Pookie, and I drained
Pookie, a guy or a girl?
girl. I don't want to say her real name, so we
Pookie.
called her Pookie.
Oh.
And I drained the bank account, went like 3 times in the middle of the night, up to like 3 towns away to get drugs and come back. Did it all night long, and spent all the money. Came home, and my youngest, or my,
Why did you go
What?
3 towns over? I don't understand that part.
because we'd buy a bunch, go back thinking that's going to last us all night.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, it didn't last more than an hour.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know a lot of people that do that.
Yeah, drive around, fucking buy a $5 rock and drive around and come back, buy another $5.
Yeah,
Just a loop. I've heard that story a bunch of times.
yeah. Anyways, I walked
This is
in
the
and
last
my
one.
son was crawling around on the floor, my oldest son, and like I didn't want him to grow up with a dad in prison or dead. You know, I knew, because I was like, I'd spent like years in juvenile hall and, you know, group homes and rehabs and placement, and I kind of knew the game about incarceration, and I knew that if I actually did go to prison, I wasn't big enough or strong enough to make it. And I knew I was going to kill myself. I knew I was just going to commit suicide if I went to prison, you know? And so I decided I want to get clean. And my initial thought was I'm going to get clean for my kid, right? So
Whatever gets you there.
yeah, that's what I always say. You know, the people go, no, I have to get clean for myself, blah, blah, blah. I personally, I didn't. I was
it
okay
got
with
you
committing
there.
suicide, right?
Same for me too.
Yeah.
It got you there.
Yeah. So that was my last day. That was August 9th of 86.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, he's hella old.
Yeah.
86. I was born in 87.
Okay, thanks. I never did find that funny at all.
Actually, you got clean at 20?
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, that's not that old.
I got conned. I say conned, but like I like walked into it, but I got conned into working my steps the first time.
When you say con, what do you mean?
There's like this old timer that would like yell at the newcomers, Bob Berg, old grizzly old man, and he was kind of scary. And he would go to the newcomers and go like, if you don't, get a sponsor, you're gonna fucking die. And or work the steps and die, and everything was like, you're all gonna die if you don't do what you're told. Anyways, I turned to my buddy Dan sitting next to me, and I asked Dan if he would sponsor me so I didn't have to listen to Bob anymore, and Dan said sure. Well, little did I know that Dan actually was involved in a men's sponsorship group that worked the steps hard once a week, and so he dragged me to this step working group. So I started working the steps almost right away.
Was it a men's group or was it co-ed?
Men's group.
Men's group. It was a sponsorship family thing.
I think it was just a men's group. I think there were some guys there that were just friends, you know. Yeah, I mean, the first time I walked up to the front door of my grand sponsor's house, this guy that was 6'4", 280-pound biker opened the door. I was like, shit, I'm fucked. These guys were like hardcore, you know, from the places that I used to hang out with. And they turned out to be some of the nicest people ever. And they were, by the end of that first time I was there, you know, 6'4", 280-pound guy was crying, talking about his feelings.
That's tight.
It was very uncomfortable for me. I wasn't used to it, but I stayed and I kept going.
I remember the first hug I got was uncomfortable. God, I was super loaded, and somebody hugged me, and I felt the hug, and I didn't know what I was feeling, and I started looking around the room like everybody was gonna hug me. Everyone wanted to hug me. I was tripped out. Yeah, I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah?
Yeah, the guy that luckily it worked out because what happened is the guy that hugged me actually worked with me. Like I had just got out of prison and I was installing insulation, and I walked into a meeting. Well, the chick I was dating brought me to a meeting, and I was real close to overdosing, like just barely hanging on, and this guy, I was sweating and fucking peeling off my shirt and nodding out, and this guy came up and he fucking wanted to hug me. It was the guy I worked with. If it hadn't been him, I wouldn't have participated. But yeah, I got that hug.
Do you remember your first time crying clean? Was it right away?
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to A1.
Years, probably close to 10.
Took a long time? Yeah. Do you remember what it was?
Okay, let me think about that. Let's go back. There's two different answers to this question. I cried when my mom got in the car accident. I had 3.5, 4 years clean, and I knew at that point it was okay to cry. I cried over that being sad, and I had a loss of a relationship around that time as well. I mourned the loss of that relationship. I cried.
At the same time?
Yeah, it was within 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
However, it took me about 10 years to cry out of joy.
Oh,
Oh shit.
quite. Oh, that's cool.
There's a pretty significant difference too.
So I was just curious, when you, did things change for you when you were able to cry? Like the first few times? Did it make it easier? Or did you still stuff it?
I still stuffed it, I think. I don't think I knew how to tap into it. Today, I feel like it comes and goes throughout the day,
Yeah.
especially in meetings. And so no longer now do I stuff it. I feel like you've taught me to stay in my heart, that being in my heart is a good thing. And so whenever things like that come up, like I try and embrace it and let it happen. And I'd like more of those times and less of the times that I'm out of my heart.
Yeah. That's cool. A2?
A2 here. Yeah, I think I still suppress sometimes those kind of emotions that come up. But one thing that helped with me, Kevin actually suggested that I watch some sad movies when I don't know, I had probably a few years clean. But I remember watching a movie and just bawling like crazy. And then ever since then...
What movie was it?
Oh, I can't remember. I know one of them. I was just trying to think. There was this series I watched. I can't remember the name, but But since then, it has flowed. Like me and my wife, we watch American Idol, and I just bawl like during auditions. I'll start
Yeah. No, dude. I get it.
start crying. You know,
I don't have a choice anymore.
Yeah,
I can't stuff
I
it.
can't stop it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's part of me that still kind of stops some stuff, but I feel it big time in like meetings or like sad parts in movies, or I lose it. My wife will look over at me and she'll be like, "Are you crying?" No, no, I'm not.
And Jen and I do that all the time too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember. The reason I ask is because I clearly remember the first time I got emotional and I had like water in my eyes. I was watching a movie.
That's crying.
I label it different. like I was holding back.
your eyes
Right?
are
But I
watering.
was
Not crying. You just had watery eyes.
yeah,
Okay.
clearly
You're
different.
emotional.
Your eyes were leaking.
Yeah.
I was watching a movie called Jack the Bear. Jack the Bear, and it was about kids and the alcoholic father. And anyways, I just I felt the emotions come up because it was kids and stuff, and then I watched Rudy.
That's a good movie.
And I bawled like the dam broke. I couldn't. I'm like, I was so mad because I was watching a football movie and it was gonna be cool, and then at the end I'm like bawling my eyes out, and I just couldn't stop the emotions. And then I think that's when the dam broke, and now I don't even bother trying to keep it in check. Every once in a while at a meeting when I'm sharing, I try to keep it in check.
Yeah.
Just so I can get through the share. But I've been known to shed some tears
Yeah.
at meetings. I think it's a cool idea that once you get past that persona of like, you don't have to be tough and hide your feelings and all that stuff.
Oh, dude, crying is one of the best releases we
It
get.
feels good, yeah.
for sure.
You're way more authentic.
I love watching sad movies for that reason.
I cry more for other like you shared something earlier that
A1.
Yeah, A1. You shared something earlier that I was like, man, that makes my heart happy for you. And I felt it welling up. Like I felt it. I
Yeah.
was getting choked up.
Oh,
You said like I feel like I'm right where my higher power wants me to be right now, and like that, I can relate with that. I cried during Avengers.
so
That was the last movie I cried for, was Avengers.
asked me about my daughter's wedding, and we were talking about it, and he said something about, did you do a speech? And I said I did, and
You have your speech in your pocket?
I do,
You just been carrying it around
I
with you?
asked him to read it to us.
yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
And this is the speech. I don't know if I'll do all of it, but
Did you write it yourself?
yeah, I did.
Okay.
No AI or nothing.
Okay. No ChatGPT.
Yeah, none
No
of that.
Gen help.
No, me. Family and friends. For a brief moment, I thought I would be able to make a speech for my daughter without getting emotional or tearing up. That was just for a brief moment, though. Everything about the last few weeks leading up to today has been an emotional, uplifting, and joyous time for Jen and I. The fact that Jackie asked me to make hot sauce as a wedding favor to include me in the process, beyond walking her down the aisle, made me cry. Jackie's journey in my life has been an amazing experience, one that a father of a daughter could only truly understand. A childhood of giving her airplane rides on my shoulders as a toddler, to having Thursday nights often be our movie nights when I would take her out. Then there was the one time we went to the movies and the guy behind the counter said it was cool that she was going out to the movies with her older brother. And I thought it was pretty amazing, and I felt really good about myself. But Jackie sternly corrected him, said, "That's my dad." I felt good about that because I was like, oh, I look young. In Jackie's adult life, I tried to never put expectations on her, knowing that she had her own path and it was completely out of my control. There were a few times when I was full of fear only because this was my daughter and I did not want her to suffer. in the long run, everything happened the way it was supposed to. And here we are today celebrating this amazing couple. When Jackie wanted to introduce Mark to Jen and I, she made sure to tell me that I was not to embarrass her by doing something crazy like cleaning a gun when he showed up. So I made it a point to be very nice to him. I told him I'm not some crazy dad that would threaten him if he hurt my daughter, at which point my Jackie yelled at me. It didn't take Jen and I long to understand that Mark is a very kind, gentle, and patient man that was going to take great care of Jackie. So I say to the Hilton family, I should probably bleep that out. You have done an amazing job raising Mark to be an incredible man that I'm very proud to be able to call son now. I would like to raise my glass to my little girl. I would like to raise my glass to my brand new son-in-law, and I'd like to raise a glass to our families. May we all treat each other with the kindness, compassion, and acceptance that Mark shows my daughter. I know it's kind of long, but I was bawling through the entire thing.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, feelings are a thing.
No.
Yeah. Well, except for you.
Just swallow it.
Yeah.
Send it down.
Yeah.
Did you cried at your wedding?
I saw him.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have witnesses.
When did that win? At what point?
I think when Destiny was doing her vows, maybe?
Yeah, that's why I was looking back. I think it was during the ceremony.
Definitely
Yeah.
during the ceremony.
It's possible my eyes were just leaking or something.
Allergies.
He wasn't crying. There was just water in his eyes.
It was,
Yeah.
It was either when Destiny was giving her vows or when he was giving it. Did you guys give vows, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Did she do like vows to the kids too?
I think so, yeah.
Did she have like really long vows? Like it was like each kid or something too?
Hayden almost passed out. I remember that. He had to
Yeah.
sit down.
Yeah, I remember.
Yep.
That's cool. So yeah, and at your guys' weddings, there was like a large majority, besides family, large majority of them where everybody was in recovery.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty much everybody, I think. There's, you guys' immediate family, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we were talking about, that like NA is a way of life for us,
Yeah.
right? And that also means that we're family. At least that's the way I look at it, you know?
Crazy family.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like more. I have a stronger connection with this than I do with my blood.
Yeah.
Sometimes it hurts to say that, like the reality, but it's like it's the reality.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but it doesn't bother me anymore. Like,
it's just my truth. You know?
yeah, we call it family of choice.
Yeah.
I think there was a joke, and I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly, of when I was new. Maybe you guys will be able to dial it in, but we got good news for you and bad news. The good news is you're home. The bad news is we're your new family.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fucked.
My uncle always says about like if when you go dating in the rooms, he says your odds are good, but your goods are
We're
odd.
on. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, that's great.
Dating in the rooms. Like the old saying was like NA is a small fishbowl. It's just a small fit. That's all it. You can't get around not dating somebody that your friend had dated, unless you go outside the rooms.
Dating and recovery itself is a very interesting thing, but the reality is like I don't think a relationship for me outside of recovery would work.
Yeah, I tried that.
I tried it too, man. It doesn't click like
It works for some people.
Yeah, for me,
Yeah.
like nothing. I don't want to date somebody that doesn't understand like the spiritual principles or the things that we practice here.
Yeah,
Not
but
on the same page. or
we see
trajectory.
beautiful marriages and relationships with people that's outside of, and I'm not like jealous or envious or anything of that, because I love what I have. I just think it's admirable that the other person not in the room,
Yeah, you can just take it off.
the other person not in the room is okay. So A2 has to go pee pee.
You guys don't want this with me?
Yeah. the other person in the room has a certain like sense of cooperation with somebody that's an addict that's in the room or an alcoholic.
I think that two healthy people that never experience some of the things that we as addicts experience can have a healthy relationship. But for somebody like for me to experience the kind of connection that I would want, that I see with those people, the experience of another addict helps play into that. Like,
You said two people that have never experienced addiction.
So like, yeah, I just like
Two civilians.
correct. Yeah, normies.
Oh, I was talking about one of us and a normie.
Yeah, but they don't have like that's where like the struggle is like for most of the time what I see is that the person that's the normie, there's a bridge that's hard to gap in the type of person that
Yeah.
is an addict, you know? Like
Yeah.
the background, the experiences.
No,
the
I get what you're
trauma,
saying.
yeah.
What I was saying was I've seen some couples that have managed that.
It happens, yeah, for
Very,
sure.
very well.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, perfect example of compatibility and recovery. All of us are dating. And everybody is. All four of us are.
In a relationship.
You're married in recovery. You're married in recovery. You're married in recovery. I'm dating in recovery. Like, pretty much everybody that we in our immediate circle is dating or married in recovery.
Yep.
Sure. I mean, it's few and far between, you know, the people that are like a mixed couple with a normie or an addict or. Excuse me.
So I got a question for you guys. On your first, this is way off, different topic. Your first 4-step, did you put everything down? I know you have.
I did, yeah. That was the first time I cried in recovery.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
You put everything down.
all of it.
A1,
Yeah.
you put everything down on your first one?
Yeah.
I had a hard time with that. What about A2?
I think to the best of my ability. So there was stuff maybe I didn't really uncover yet or didn't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some stuff that took me years to put down. Just because it's still living in shame and guilt. Took a long time.
I kept putting it down too.
I just,
Yeah.
every time you worked another round, you put it down.
If I
again.
was with the new sponsor, it felt unresolved.
Yeah, I did that with you too when our first round.
Yeah.
I most of it, but like the way I did it was like I figured if it's in my head and it makes me feel weird in any kind of way, it needs to be on there. And because at that time I didn't have any understanding of my feelings. All of it got encompassed into fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. It's uncomfortable. It's weird.
You've got a lot of that theme going on.
I have a lot
Weird?
of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me some examples, Kevin. What wasn't my weird?
Don't ask
thing?
me for examples. He's A1's the one with the great memory. I can't remember shit.
Yeah. So what are we talking about that's weird though? The like a.
You're the one that brought up being out on the couch in the middle of the night being weird.
Yeah. No. My tweet.
We
was
don't need to go
porn and
back there.
masturbation. That's
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? So I was spun out on pills and being
Yeah.
a fucking weirdo.
Like I asked that because there was something that I didn't put on my 4-step for many, many years. My addict was justifying the event that it was not eventful. Like when I was 9, I got molested by a child therapist. And I discounted it because there was no sex. The guy just touched me. And I was like, doctors touch kids, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Right?
traumatizing.
And so I just never acknowledged it. And I was doing some step work at this time where
Therapists don't touch kids.
yeah, that's what I found out,
Yeah.
right? Child therapist.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was doing step work, and this newspaper article came out about this doctor getting arrested for molesting kids. The county had hired this guy to be the child psychologist for all the juvenile centers. And so he had molested 100 plus kids.
Wow.
Yeah, got caught, went to prison, and it was the same guy. Yeah, and so I never acknowledged it until at that time. And I was doing some work with a sponsee, and I explained the situation, and he goes, "No, you were molested." I go, "Well, I didn't have sex. You know, he just touched me." And he goes, "No, that's being molested." And so I had to acknowledge the fact that that happened. And I remember my buddy Chad sharing about it at a meeting about it happening to him years ago. And then that gave me the courage to talk about it. You know?
I think
Yeah.
potentially that's why I was okay with sharing the stuff. By the time I had done my 4 step, I heard a lot of people saying a lot of things in their name
Yeah.
from the podium that were like, I realized it was like, I'm not alone.
Yeah. People didn't talk about that stuff, you know, in the 80s and 90s, you know?
Yeah, I mean, now that I've been around, I mean, obviously the clean time hasn't stuck, but I've been around for 8 years.
You haven't left, yeah.
Yeah, and that's essentially the relatability is the whole entire purpose behind the Fourth Step podcast is to like,
Let that shit come out.
yeah, fuck, people need to hear that they're not alone, you know, like I like we've been talking about it for a couple days now. James says I'm missing a piece of my brain that that I'm unapologetically myself, and I don't really give a fuck what people think, and so I use that to my advantage to be able to share my absolute truth, because like I want people to know, like, if you think you're weird, you're
Just
not,
listen to Josh.
yeah, you're not alone. Like,
If you're weird, go hang out with Josh for a couple of days. If you think
Yeah,
you're
you'll
weird.
feel better about yourself.
you're not alone. Yeah, like I don't have any.
There was a long time in recovery. I would tell that to Josh because he'd call me when he first got, 8 years ago when he first got clean. He'd call me, and by the end of the conversation, I feel so much better about my life. Thank you.
You would say that to him?
Yeah.
Yeah, when we first started talking, it was like I was fresh out of prison, and that was what I knew.
We're so different.
It's so fucking different.
Still are so different.
It's so much closer though now. There's so much more middle ground now, which there was none before. Like I would tell him something that was like normal every day, and it would just be quiet on the other line.
I think I was too much of like a nice guy and a people pleaser to like
Yeah.
tell Josh that I didn't want to talk to him
But you
anymore.
guys,
He kept calling, I kept answering.
you guys aren't
Well,
like
you
that
called
anymore,
too,
though.
Fuck you.
I know, I'm
You were
just kidding.
calling.
Right? You guys aren't like that anymore?
Like what?
Like you can talk. You talk every day now.
Yeah, we haven't really skipped a beat since
Yeah.
then.
If I don't hear from Josh by like noon, I'm usually trying to call him every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, where's Josh at?
yeah.
You might want to move that closer.
Part of the process. Yeah, I mean, we used to joke like our higher powers brought us together because
You're so different.
Yeah, and so that we learned, and we did. I can watch that process play out. Like we brought each other into like a more realistic version of our own realities. Like,
Dude, I get it.
yeah, his like reserved, timid, like cautious approach to life. Like it made me understand that like I don't have to be so extreme and harsh and like volatile to exist and protect myself, like and also like my vulgar, chaotic, whatever, overstimulated, and we like met in the middle somewhere, and it's like that's what I mean, like there's so much more middle ground now.
I relate that to Jen and I.
Yeah, so I was gonna say it's the same thing with me and my wife. We're
Yeah.
pretty different, but we were actually talking about it recently. We've become more of each other though, and kind of in the middle.
So Jen says that
It's so
we
cool.
balance
It's
each
so cool to be
other
that
out.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jen says what?
We balance each other out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hopeful relationship for all of us, is like it just, there's like strengths and weeknesses, and
Yeah.
you balance each other out.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's there's a thing with between Jen and I don't know if it's going to be true for you either, is like she has a personality that's kind of loving, caring, free flowing, easygoing, she's like the female version of you, right? Just
Yeah.
you just want everybody to be happy, and all that. And then there's me, who's like, like has structure, and this needs to be done, and there's rules, and you know what I mean. There's
I think
like
maybe that's where you come from, but not so much where you're at anymore.
no.
No, because you're pretty laid back, dude.
Oh, that's the point I was getting at.
Yeah, she taught you that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She said that you're living your childhood again as an adult because of the being strict and all that stuff. And so she brought me to this point, and then she said that she has found some structure, and we come together with this like perfect path, and like we're the happiest we've ever been.
Nice.
And that's kind of the goal, I think,
Yes.
for our relationship.
I think that's the goal in life. Like, of course, I gotta, my primary purpose is to stay clean, but ultimately, I want to have some peace and some happiness in my life.
Yeah.
I remember thinking when I first, but right before I got clean, and then when I got clean, it's like I just wanted to feel some kind of joy in my life. Like I didn't remember what that felt like.
Yeah.
And then so
I got a funny.
That could make, I start thinking about that. I could cry if I think about that too long.
it's like, why can't I have that?
Yeah, dude. Being able to have that now today is
Yeah.
fucking unreal.
My grant sponsor, when I was new, said, "Joy is not the name of your ex-girlfriend." There's a new meaning for that here.
Yeah.
Guys-
What you guys feel like you and you guys balance each other out pretty well?
Mrs. A1.
Yeah, Mrs. A1, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it too. Yeah. What we talked about a little bit earlier, like how much all of us obviously changed, but like that change that he's made is. I remember I used to fucking hate you.
I heard.
Yeah. I hate
told me.
Yeah, for sure.
He told me.
That side. Yeah. Yeah. When we first started hanging out, I was like, I don't know about you, dude.
Hey,
Yeah.
same with you and me.
Yeah, dude. Kevin interviewed me for sponsorship. I went to like 3 interviews.
I don't think there was 3.
I was trying to talk him out of it, but he was like, I gotta give him a chance. We had a meeting about it.
I told you before, like the reason I was willing is because you were willing.
Yeah.
I said I'm not about any of these things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I knew that you had came from that background.
Yeah.
I came from that background.
Yeah.
And I no longer wanted that stuff. And you said, well, see how it goes. I'll give it a shot.
I know more people that Kevin has said no to than he said yes to.
Yeah.
So we're blessed.
Me too, yeah. Yeah, I'm grateful, yeah.
I remember seeing you for the first time at New Hope.
Me?
Yeah, and
Scare you?
I was like,
Were you there the night that I came in loaded?
I think so.
Yeah, that was a fucking...
Well, I don't know. Did you share that night?
No.
Okay, I heard you share, and you were like, there's, we try to stick with the winners, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And there's some people that you see, you're like, that guy's definitely not going to make it, but this is what I thought. And I was like, I'm going to steer clear of him also. But when he shared, I don't know, I probably had like 6 or 8 months clean, so I was really trying to pick the people I surrounded myself with wisely. I was scared about getting loaded. But anyways, when he shared, he's like, yeah, I'm still gonna drink. I don't really know about like all this stuff. I don't even just like. I was like, oh wow, he's not gonna make it.
I remember when our other friend was talking about pot. Like that's just a way of life. That's not really a drug. I mean, that's just our culture that we grew up in. When they were in the beginning of their recovery, who I'm talking about.
Yes.
And I was like, I didn't have that experience in the city, right?
Did he used to be a sponsee of yours?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's still a good friend.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, but he talks about like it being the culture and not the addiction until you realize that, oh, well, I guess it really is a drug.
Well, you helped with that, so thank you for helping our friend.
True, only because I, had experienced that.
Yeah.
The meaning of gateway drug really fucking like holy shit, excuse me. The meaning of gateway drug really fucking stuck for me with weed. Like when I was able to look back at like, because I would get out of jail or prison and I'd be like, I'm only gonna smoke weed, and I tried it several times, and it was like I'd smoke weed for 2 weeks.
That didn't work.
I need crank. Like, it just was like, this is not enough. I need more.
And
Like,
for me, like similarly, like I've used other things, like including marijuana and alcohol, and they all have the same effect on me. Like they cause me to be loaded, you know?
yeah, the disassociation from reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I know that that I can't use them successfully. Basically.
It just doesn't work. Man.
So we all agree that weed is a drug,
Yeah.
and that we can't use it successfully.
Yeah.
It is funny, like the culture that a lot of us grow up in different cultures, but we end up here.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where we came from, we end up here.
Where I'm part of a tradition meeting, and I can't remember what we were probably on. It was 9 or 10, and somehow the reading in 9 or 10 led us to the concept of like how beautiful the anonymity that we get here is, because like if you walk into like let's just say for example we go into a large meeting where there's maybe 100 people, that is 100 different personalities, not to mention the multiple personalities that some of those people may have, and opinions and backgrounds and trauma and all this shit. And if you go into the right meeting and with 100 people, the energy in there is love and like growth and support, and for everybody to have all these political views, religious views, all this other shit, race, sex, whatever, like all this different shit that some of these people like, I don't like that about you, but right now we're in a meeting.
Yeah.
Like, and to be able to have that is
Yeah,
it's unreal.
I've picked meetings for that purpose, and those are the meetings that I get fed at.
Yeah.
Right, like I'll go to Journey Within on Sunday nights in Fair Oaks
Plug.
because I feel that connection. Like there's all different types of people there, but every single one of them is there, and I could feel the love in the room.
Yeah, the energy, man. That's what it's about for sure.
Yeah.
We had another joke when I was new, and there was a meeting that I went to that was about 150 to 200 people at every Wednesday night. And
Where at?
Here in Citrus Heights. Yeah, we called it Spruce. That's not the name of the meeting, but that's what it was called.
That's the Dog and Pony Show.
Well, opinion.
You're a dog and pony.
No, yeah. That was the description.
Yeah. So, but there was the joke at the end of the night. We'd circle up and we'd be like, we'd look around the room, 150, 200 people in there, and we'd say, think about how much safer Sacramento is tonight.
Yeah.
You know? And it really was. Like,
Yo.
No, I say that because when I was moving up here,
Yeah.
you know, I talked to some friends that were up here, and,
Yeah.
and they're like, you know, like, you probably wouldn't like this one. It's a dog and pony show, and they were talking about Spruce.
You wouldn't.
And then what's the Saturday night
Saturday
one?
Night Live. They were all at the same place. Saturday Night Live got kicked out of there
Oh.
and had to go down the road, but it was Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday night Spruce. And
Yeah.
I don't even know what dog and pony show means.
Elaborate, Kevin.
It's like a popularity. You know, like we had tons of them down in the Bay Area too. You go there for
another would be meat market.
the socialization. You're not there for the
Right.
work the
I've
steps
been
or
to
anything.
Spruce and Saturday Night Live, and they were at one point or another they were that for sure. I've also been to both of those meetings and got fed.
Yeah.
So there's that too. We were actually
It
just talking
served a
about
good
another
purpose for
meeting,
me.
another
I
meeting
was
like
going.
that too. You know.
Yeah.
It served a good purpose for me.
Did
Yeah,
Saturday Night
absolutely.
Live make it through COVID? They did.
Yeah.
Are they still up down off of Sunrise? Do we know?
I don't know. But
Don't
it's not
know.
what I should go to now. You know, I go to Journey with It. I go to what is this other Saturday meeting called? Soul Principle.
Yeah.
That's a good meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? And please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not knocking that, because I went to those
people
types of
get-
meetings
people get clean
for
there.
years
Yeah.
because it was attractive,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Kept
It's
me coming back.
Yeah, absolutely.
People change in recovery and
Yeah.
start seeking different things, and that's why it's so nice that there's so many different options.
Yeah.
So
That's
many
funny.
different meanings.
In the name that things change, right? Like just since I've been working with Kevin, like I come from a different style in a little bit of a different style than sharing than Kevin, and I know he shared with me he doesn't really like loudspeakers, and
That's just personal choice, though.
Right, but I want to say that like I used to really enjoy it, and now I don't really like loud meetings and loudspeakers, and I don't speak as loud. But it's happened over time for me. Like it was, like I feel like it was me growing up a little bit.
Yeah.
In some sense.
And the literature-based sharing versus the feelings-based sharing too. I watched that process with you, too.
Authenticity, yeah.
Like where you're at and what's going on with you instead of like reciting out of a book.
I've noticed
So
that
hard to
too.
drop.
Yeah, I
It's
bet.
so
I
hard.
I think we've had this conversation before. I wouldn't necessarily drop it, right?
But yes.
Because somebody else that does that also recently, like shared literature, and then tied in a story to what they were talking
I think it's
about,
a
like
matter
a
of how you
personal.
do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. If you're sharing information to share information because you have it, like from the book, versus like sharing your personal experience, that's
With the stuff in the book.
it's
Very attractive to me.
for sure.
And I don't want anybody to think that like I'm poo-pooing their style of meeting or speaker or anything. It's not, it doesn't have anything to do with that, because I've been through all of that in recovery. Like,
I think what's attractive about it to me is like the idea that it's great to have the information out of the book. Like it's fantastic. Like I love that like we could be talking about anything. I'll be like, and you'll be like,
I know.
"Well, the third tradition states that you can just fucking recite.
dude,
it." You know what I mean?
I've told him that. I love it.
However, but if every time you're sharing, all you're sharing about is passages out of the book, like I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying in general, like what level of vulnerability are you actually practicing, and what kind of authenticity are you showing everybody?
Yeah, and then where are we going to connect with you?
Exactly.
It
And
took
we
a
talked
long
about that
time for me to
earlier.
believe what you guys are saying, but like I'm there. I believe.
Yeah.
For sure. No, we watched that. Yeah.
And also, you may say like I taught you this, but I'm not trying to model you after me. That is absolutely not where that's going.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it just happened to be.
It's just a different look,
It
that's
just
all.
happened to be
Yeah.
as I've gotten a little bit older and grown in my recovery. It just happens that I agree and I like it too.
It's attractive.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, dude, I think, well, to me from outside, what it looks like is like you made conscious choices to move in a different direction in your recovery. And in doing so, I would imagine it's probably because at some point, like what you were doing wasn't doing it for you.
100%.
And so knowing that, you're like, I have to do something different. So you were willing to try that.
Yep.
And then like that included like the sponsorship, the support group, sharing differently, doing step work a different way, like all the different,
Oh yeah.
and it just like, it's just a different look, you know? And it's not a look for everybody. There's a lot of people that stay clean and have really good lives and work a program the same way that you were working before, you know? It's just certain people, we change.
Yeah, I
Change.
agree. I agree. Like, what's your favorite type of speaker, A2?
What were we talking about?
What's your favorite type of speaker?
He knows.
Where were you zoned out at? Where were you?
No, I was here. I think I agree. A mixture of the literature and then feelings. I like that. That's a good mix. I don't like to hear about much of the mess. You know, somebody's about to tell you a lot of the mess when they start off with saying, I'm not going to share any of the mess.
Yeah.
But I've done it too, where I've tried to stay out of it and then get into it a little bit. It's kind of hard. It's hard to get back out of it, so I understand.
Yeah.
But
I had a sponsee years ago was asked to share, and he asked me like, so I was thinking about starting here, but where do I start? This was like back in the Bay Area, and this is what was repeated over and over to me was start at the last day you got loaded and then talk about your recovery. Because the last day you got loaded is that gift of desperation, or hopefully it's near it. Whatever that last gift of desperation was, so people can connect with that. Like the newcomer can connect with that horrible, gut-wrenching, on the floor in the fetus position pain that we're in. And then how did that journey in recovery start?
I try to skim past it because if I get stuck in it, I'll get stuck.
The
there.
mess?
Yeah. So I'll just like, I am for sure an addict. I've been in and out of institutions since I was a juvenile. Been to prison. I've used every drug I can think of. There's not a drug I know of that I haven't used, and there's not a way of using drugs.
You did ayahuasca. What is it? Ayahuasca?
Ayahuasca. I wasn't a thing really when I was. I mean, I'm sure it was, but it wasn't like it is now.
It is now,
But
It's not on your bucket list right now?
no.
No bucket list.
There's no version of using, like method of using that I haven't used. Like,
Yeah.
I've been homeless. I've lived in a car. Just
All of it.
if you just touch on all those points, it's like everyone knows the journey to those locations.
Yeah.
The getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. I mean,
I'm a
that's
fucking drug
live to
addict.
use and use to live. That pretty much sums it up there.
Yeah, when you guys were talking about our diversity earlier and how we all come from different walks of life, I was just thinking about how the disease doesn't discriminate.
Nope.
Not at all.
Nope. We watched lawyers come in the rooms,
Doctors,
professional athletes come in the rooms,
artists.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Musicians, artists.
From Yale to jail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah.
I'm eating these
Those are good, huh?
macadamia nuts. Hopefully, it's not coming up too loud on the microphone.
Well, you're just noisy, period. So we talked about our last day loaded or first day clean types of speakers. What about your your step work? You guys, well, I don't know if I should be asking you guys. I already know each of you guys step work, but how do you feel about what you're doing now?
I have some inertia going on.
Dude, we just read about that, right?
Yeah.
That's the only reason you use that word.
Inertia.
No, but it feels that way.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm
Okay,
on a
so let me ask you, the literature, what does it say about complacency?
Complacency is the enemy for members with substantial clean time.
How much clean time do you have?
17 years.
So are you complacent?
Very.
It's your enemy.
Yes, it is.
So how are you going to go to war with your enemy?
Our steps are my best defense against relapse.
So I knew he could count on you.
Yeah, I'm fucking teaching a lesson over here. Just fucking classes in session, literature, fucking
Dude, I don't knock
book
it.
robot.
I don't knock it. What does it say about
Yeah, just fire them off
the
questions.
lifeboat?
NA is our lifeboat in the sea of isolation.
Yeah. NA is our lifeboat in the sea of isolation.
What does it say about disease thinking?
I fucking love you, dude.
What does it say about disease thinking? Oh, I don't know.
Not that one?
I think honesty is our antidote,
antidote, yeah.
to disease thinking.
Yeah, you know what it says actually? Okay, hold on. It says this, right?
I'm with.
Yeah. So I was thinking about how there's 3 or 4 things that come before that, and it's talking about rigorous honesty is the most important tool in learning to live for today. Although honesty is difficult to practice.
For
it is
anybody
most
who's
important.
wondering, there is not a book in front of him.
No, this is right out of his head.
So it's this, right? And it's really cool because it's talking about rigorous honesty. That's the type of honesty. Rigorous honesty is the most important tool in learning to live for today. Although honesty is difficult to practice, it is most rewarding. Honesty is the antidote toward disease thinking.
I like it. Honesty. And then what about
So dishonesty would be like poison. If honesty
toxic? Yeah.
If honesty is the antidote, then
Yeah.
dishonesty is poison.
Yeah. And we're taught that NA is a way of life, right? What's it say about
You show us
that?
You show us that all the time, the way you live. Yeah, it talks about our message is meaningless unless we live it.
Yeah, and people get.
I mean, I think honestly, living it is the message itself. We're a program of attraction, not promotion.
Yes, and I have come across people that when I've said, NA is my way of life, they're like, well, I didn't get clean just to be an NA. I've got friends outside of the rooms, and so they have this misconception of what that phrase actually means.
Yeah.
And for me, I was taught that like that means that I'm going to take what I learned here
And apply
and
it,
how I've like changed and take it with me out
the
there.
traditions.
Yeah,
My whole
exactly.
life, my life outside of recovery has completely fucking changed because of recovery itself.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes. So NA as a way of life for me means that I'm taking what I've learned here in all aspects of my life.
I like it.
Principles.
I think of you when I think about like your life. Your life is attractive to me, and I see like how you get there and how you got there and how you stay there.
I look back at like the first 15 years of my recovery, and it is not attractive. It's like toxic behavior, very unattractive. Did you know that you're not supposed to discharge a firearm at a Narcotics Anonymous event?
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, I was at a camp out in early recovery, running around with the guy I was hanging out with, and we're driving around in the campgrounds, shooting signs with a shotgun. You know, it's what you do. And it took old timers to say, you're not supposed to do that, and you're not allowed to come back here. Your behavior is I can't remember the word, but your behavior is detrimental to the health of Narcotics Anonymous's activities.
Cause harm to yourself or others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough sometimes when I look back at like the harm I caused and to talk about it.
It takes what it takes, though. All that experience made it to where you're able to
Look back and say, this is unattractive. I don't want that anymore.
well that too, and look at what your experience has been able to do for other people too.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't have that experience, there may not be as much relatability between me and you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I
You know
think
what I mean?
like
Oh, right?
Yeah.
in the name of like today, like still being attractive to what you have to offer. Like Josh was mentioning earlier, and I could relate, and I didn't say I could relate, I just related, but not really wanting to take a look at some of this stuff and just moving forward. And like you're saying that you continue to take a look at it, and it makes sense to me. I think I'm just scared,
Yeah. Jeez, I get scared too. I get scared that I will lose my voice, like with Jen and I, because I want to keep things smooth and even, and not rock the boat. So sometimes I have a hard time finding that middle ground where I'm sticking up for myself, but I'm not being an asshole and going against her just to go against her, like in a selfish manner, right?
Yeah, it takes
Like self-care.
Yeah, it takes me time to find the reality in my situations like that. Like we're like, because like I'll have some feelings and I can't just go talk about them immediately in a relationship. I have to like
Process.
I have to let it pass to where I can like find the reality in it and my part and just focus on that. And then I'm able to talk about it.
Yeah. There's times when I like want to do something, and so I have a direction. I know what I want to do. I have a direction, and Jen will go, well, what about doing it this way? And I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm doing this. She goes, well, and it's probably like stuff for the house or the ranch or whatever. And can we get like another quote from somebody? Like, I already know how much it's going to be. This is how much it's going to be. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to
attachment.
Yeah, I'm trying to control the situation because this is mine, right? And she's from a place like she's a freaking scientist, right? And they explore like all aspects of everything and take information from all different people, and that's what she's bringing to the table. And I'm just like one direction. This is how it is. Blah blah blah. And so I have to find that middle ground where like I'm not giving up myself just to conform to what she wants, but also being open-minded. That's the hardest part sometimes for me, to take direction or even criticism or suggestions from her, because it does play into that ego and false pride for me. We're years when we moved up there, we were thinking about like putting in fences and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, I want some pretty fences, and I want it all to look nice." And me with my background, I'm like, "Yeah." Me with my background, I'm like, "No, we just build these fences this way. This is how it's done." And I was sharing at a meeting when we first moved up there, and I was at Friday Night Alternative, and I'm talking about, well, Jen wants to build these fences with vines and flowers and make it all pretty, and fences don't live like that. You know, I'm just complaining about it and that whole process.
Fences like they have a life. Fences don't live that way.
Yeah. And I was just complaining about it, knowing I know how they're supposed to be built my way, because I did it for a living, you know. No, I learned that it's okay to take suggestions.
Yeah, it's a good thing to be wrong.
Yeah, ego and false pride, that's what I like always keep myself in check.
I learned how to be wrong in NA for sure.
Or willing to hear somebody else too.
Yeah. Like I'm not afraid to have an attachment to something and have a conversation with somebody, and they tell me something that makes more sense, and I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, yeah, that.
That's the most attractive thing I think that I see in you out of our friendship. Like, you take suggestions, like, and...
Well, if it makes sense, it makes sense.
But I come from so many people that, like, don't even want to hear it. Like, you can't bring it to them. You can't, if you spot something and you want to share it with them, they don't want to hear it. And then, like, not only that, like, if I share, like, a suggestion, like, that, like, experience, like, this worked for me, like, you try it before knocking it. And
Yeah.
my mind is blown every single time. And I'll tell you what it does for me. Anytime that you have a suggestion for me, I'm like, dude, like, he always takes your suggestions. Like, why don't you try taking his?
Dude, I feel the same about you as you feel about Josh. Is like, and I've even bragged about you to other people. Like, recently I said, the one thing about Kyle that I will say is that whenever something comes up, you know, he's willing to do what's suggested. In fact, you seek out answers for what's going on, and you specifically say, I'm going to remember this and I'm going to apply it.
Yeah.
And he does.
For sure, yeah.
Dude, I've seen that growth.
Yeah, I'd say probably 90 to 95% of the time you actually follow through with them, you know?
Yeah.
Just tight. And the other times it's like, no, I just didn't do it yet. Or I decided not to, or something changed, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Or it didn't feel right in the moment or something.
I mean, the reality is like, I think like being wrong is where we grow, you know, if we're open to other options. And I
see with A2, like, I don't see anything wrong with him. He's just,
recovered?
yeah. No, seriously, he's just so
When did you buy
mellow.
that? Did you go to Malibu? Is it Malibu?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a different personality. It's not,
for sure a different style of recovery.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
there's drama, but you don't like actively create chaos in that drama. You're just like, oh, is this what's going on? You know, what do I do in there?
Yeah,
in
like
this?
we talked about, he's swallowing it all.
That's not true, is it?
Somewhat.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, not really. It's more just he protects himself well. He protects himself and his recovery, and he knows I think he knows, like, that's not a good idea for me, and so that's the end of it for him. There's no like he doesn't try to fit square shit into round holes. You know what I mean? There's no what he's got is working, and he's content, and he stays in his pocket, and he stays in his lane, and
Well, he's got new stuff comes up.
Sure.
You know, but I watch how he reacts to that, and it's not like creating drama or chaos.
right, and he doesn't have as much shit coming up because he's created his safety. He's created a safe.
You're
place.
coming into my safety net right
Yeah,
now.
he's created a safe place. Well, like
Does that track for you?
What's that?
Does that track for you?
Yeah, I don't know where it comes from or why, but yeah.
Yeah, it's accurate.
It's accurate.
For sure.
Earlier we were talking about.
I mean, just real quick, just think about the moving parts in his life, the moving parts in my life, the moving parts in his life,
yeah.
and the correlation between the dysfunction, the chaos, or whatever, and the amount of moving parts that we each have. Like, if he had more moving parts, there would be more dysfunction. But he knows that about himself, and so he keeps himself protected in what works for him.
So maybe that's what he was trying to get through to you.
It is, but we're just different people too.
Yeah.
We think different, we operate differently, so it's,
A2 sees the stress, chaos, and pain in you, and he's found a way to not have that
correct.
and saying, this is what you could do if you wanted to.
Yeah, and he doesn't, and the risks that I take are things that, like, he's got a family, he's got a mortgage, he's got, like, his responsibilities are different too, so his ability to take risks is not as, like, I can do, all my shit could fall apart tomorrow and I would still be okay, you know? So
You just get a job.
right, exactly. So
Yeah, I get that.
yeah, and like, I mean, he's got a bunch of different moving parts too, you know?
Yeah.
So there's definitely something there for sure.
No, I feel it in my own life. Recently it's just been like deaths and mourning and all that stuff.
Yeah, except for the wedding, that was beautiful, right?
That was amazing.
I like what you shared at a meeting the other night about being on kind of like a roller coaster, having like the joy of the wedding and then the mourning of Steve, and just being able to still just
Yeah.
show up.
Yeah, that morning of mourning Steve, I didn't know that that's happening because Steve's still alive. Right? And Jen explained it to me like that's all part of the process. There's like this grieving going on.
You're actually blessed in that you know it's coming.
It's hard for me to say I feel blessed that I know it's coming. I would feel blessed if he beat cancer and stayed alive.
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
So I get what you're saying, but it's hard for me to wrap my head around that.
Yeah. I mean, it could be nobody knows what's happening, and then all of a sudden he's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. I understand that. I just went through that with my stepdad.
Yeah.
Right? He suffered for a few months and then he passed. So I guess,
Fuck, I forgot. That just happened too, man.
yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have heard that sometimes things happen in our life to prepare us for other things.
Mm-hmm.
And like the death of my brother when I had 4 years cleaner, I can't remember if it's 4 or 5, but that helped me get through the other deaths that came after that.
I think that can be said like for pretty much everything.
Everything, yep.
Yeah, and I personally subscribe to the idea that like my journey, because I've been able to see so much of my higher power in my process from as far back as I can remember, like I subscribe to the idea that my journey was the exact thing, the things I went through were the exact things that I needed to experience to be the person that I am today, and continue. That process will continue. Like I'm still in that journey, you know?
Yeah, we had that conversation on the, not the last episode, but about like, if looking back, would we change anything? And most people would say, no, it got me to where I'm at today. And I always felt like that. I believe in that. I believe that's true.
I wish I hadn't hurt people though.
I wish I hadn't hurt people.
Yeah, for sure. And that's understandable. And you can wish I didn't hurt people and still have the same,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah.
the same,
Outcome.
yeah.
I was going to ask you, did you're going through the experience the first time with your brother passing? Did that make an impact on the second?
I often think back because I can kind of compare the
Yeah.
process between the two. And right before my first brother passed, I hadn't been clean yet, and we used together, so there was a lot of dysfunction and stuff going on when we used right up until he passed. And I never had the opportunity to clean up my side of the street. Like I didn't have the same tools that I have now
Yeah.
from working steps, and so I think I had. Actually, my second brother, it's May 20th, will be 5 years, which is crazy.
Already?
I know, yeah.
Wow.
And so,
Are you serious?
yeah. So I had like 3 or 4 years clean when he passed, and I had worked around the steps, and our relationship was the best that it had ever been.
Shit.
It was like, anything, I had made amends to him, and then I cleaned up all of my stuff, and we had just like such a good relationship. So, as tough as that was, and it still is, there was a process that I can look back up, and I'm so grateful that I was clean. I feel blessed. So when I look back at both of them, they're so different. With my first brother, I've done things with my previous sponsor where like I wrote a letter, like an amends letter. And
So you did?
yeah, and then I
gonna
went
ask
out to
you
the
that.
cemetery and like read it, and that I did feel some stuff from it, but there's part of me that I wasn't able to. It's just like I still feel it,
Yeah. That's a big impact, though.
Yeah, and I wish that I could have shared this life with him. That's like the biggest. It's like
Yeah.
I wish that like he could have been here to see the life today, but
Those things that you talk about, we don't have control over that, right?
If I'm not mistaken, his passing is kind of your catalyst for getting clean.
yeah, we talked about, like Kevin mentioned, his motivation for getting clean. That was my motivation. Was even before he had passed, was me and him talked about it as we were getting loaded. Like he had seen me get clean previously, and he recognized that those little moments that I had was clean was the happiest I had been, and so he talked about like getting clean after he passes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
That's pretty awesome.
yeah. So that was I felt like if there was anything that could come good from his death was that I would live. Otherwise I was going to die.
I guess that would be like kind of a living amends right there.
Dude,
Sure.
you were close, bro. Some of the pictures I saw of you from back then, you were not far from it.
Yeah, I was, and I didn't want. I didn't want to be here anymore. But it was like this. There was just. It was like a fuck it, but in a positive way. Like I'm just gonna try this, and I'm gonna really try it, and not just like half-ass it.
Yeah. You've had death, too.
Yeah.
Same process? Did you have enough experience with other people might have shared at meetings that made it okay for you to go through the death that you've experienced?
Trying to think what I remember. I remember paying very much attention when I was new to people getting through anything tough. And it could be anything that seemed tough to me. And,
Yeah.
and I would just pay attention. And what I saw was that they were coming back. They were willing to show up and cry if they needed to cry and talk about how they were feeling. And I remember saving people's phone numbers that I thought I might talk to if something happened to me catastrophic. And I just kept building relationships. And then when the day came that my mom passed, I just remember what they did. Or when she got in the accident, right? It took 7 years for her to pass. But when she got in the accident, her life was changed forever. She suffered from a brain injury. She was never the same person.
Yeah, she was disabled, right?
Yeah. And she needed 24-hour care. And so I was on my way to the home group when it happened, and I got a call. And then I went to the hospital, and I got to see her. and I got to pray with her, and she was still the same person at that moment. But then when she went down for surgery, she didn't wake up the same. And yeah, and then I was just about to go through the breakup around that time. Like I was like that day, like I was gonna break up with the person I was with. Then we had been together for 7 years, and then that happened, and I was like, I was told don't make any big decisions right now, don't make any big decisions.
Yeah.
And I waited a couple months to do it, and then I did, and but around this time I was like, so I went to meetings and I cried in the meeting, and I would cry like for like the whole meeting, and people just kept saying to me, it's okay, Kyle, we're glad you're here, like make sure to stay clean. If you can stay clean,
Yeah,
like, it's gonna
yeah.
be okay. And another thing is when I was in early recovery, like everyone was talking about no matter what, the no matter what club, no matter what. And I bought into it, hook, line, and sinker, no matter what. So I was like, and I got to deal with reservations and early step work, and that was on there, my parents dying or anyone dying, but I had no experience with it myself.
Yeah.
I just remember like thinking to myself, I wouldn't be honoring anybody if I got loaded over them dying. Like that's not what they want for me. They want for me to stay clean and thrive, you know? And the idea that like my life is at stake and I'll probably die, like I believe that too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny you bring up no matter what. There, early recovery, no matter what, people were like so strict, like we don't take anything no matter what. And they were like all the way across the board, no medication, no doctors, like we're just gonna suffer. And people would like, there's other people that would like question that no matter what. And like the perception that they had was like, you're saying that we can't take anything no matter what. And I think it was Irish James or something. He was like, no, don't be stupid.
Yeah.
Right? No matter what means that we're not going to get loaded
Yeah.
with the motive to get loaded no matter what. If your doctor tells you to take this medication to better your life, don't be an idiot, take the medication.
That is another thing it took me about 10 years to understand.
Yeah, and me too. Yeah. It's just a misperception of what the actual words mean. No matter what, we don't get loaded no matter what. There's no reason for us to change the way we feel.
When you were just sharing a moment ago, I related to something and something clicked for me. It made me think I'd like to talk to Jen more about it, but I feel like I've been grieving my dad passing away. He hasn't passed away yet for those that don't know or listening, but I am so strongly connected to my dad, and he's getting older. The day is going to come. And I've just been feeling like grief, like come up and come up and come up for something that hasn't happened yet. And I remember I shared it with a few people, but nobody's pointed out that could be a real thing. Like it could be grief, even though it hasn't happened. But
Yeah.
he's 77 now, and it's gonna come at some point. So
It's not something that we need to act on,
no,
but you can't stop the feelings coming up,
yeah,
right? So I was unable to identify it until Jen pointed it out, what was going on with me. And she pointed out that you are grieving right now. It's like, oh, that makes total sense. Yeah. Well, is that enough for you guys?
How long have we been doing this?
An hour and 40 minutes.
That's a good episode.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did it, you guys. Thanks for participating. I know
Yeah.
both of you guys were a little bit hesitant, and I'm grateful. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for sure.
Appreciate that A1 and A2.
Yeah.
We did a lot of recovery today, man. Like fucking
Yeah.
step work since what time did we start
I
at?
probably don't have to do any step work for at least 9
I
months.
mean, that was really my most
Take up.
That's not a
process.
thing.
I just filled up my bank account.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. Often you will hear addicts referring to a specific 12-step program or rehab. These are personal stories. We do not represent any of the programs.